Welcome in, everybody.
Welcome in, everybody.
We're painting big Stompy Robitzz.
We're painting big Stompy Robitzz.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
I don't have the tools to deal with this right now.
To deal with this right now.
I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do.
Speaking of that,
Big
Bobzilla gasp. I want
Bobzilla.
Christmas cards at 196 months from Big Bobzilla. Who is that guy?
That Big Bobzilla guy?
We don't know that guy.
We do know that guy.
He does make cool cutting boards from what I hear.
He makes amazing cutting boards.
Cannibal, Iterator, Source, Paint Liquor, Papa Chicken, Thumb Pal Enthusiast, Dusty Hobbies, Iterator. Welcome in, everybody. Today is a Monday, and we're painting big Stompy Robitzz.
Chris said he was having a Monday.
I am having a good Monday retrospectively.
Retrospective Monday is what he's having.
There's not many things on the grand scheme of life to be upset about.
Not many, but some.
Hey, speaking of some, Thumb Pal Enthusiast, 30-day stream streak. Was Chris fed? No, I was not fed today.
This
intentionally.
I don't know. I stay out of that whole thing.
No, I am not fed.
None my business.
Hey, and for all of you, I'm going on the defensive here.
Uh-oh, here we go.
For all of you said I didn't paint, you go check out that Discord, because who was posting in the Discord this weekend, huh? This guy.
Supposedly painted some things.
Oh, I painted some stuff.
He showed me some pictures. He shared some pictures with you guys. Now it's up to us to determine whether or not Chris is believable.
Unbelievable. Proof is there. Philip, I don't need a banana, because the banana you're going to bring me is not edible, and I don't want that banana anywhere close to me. And for all of you who don't have the context of this conversation...
That banana is literally your fault, Christopher.
Okay, let's really...
And the fact that you gave it to Phil was surprising to me. Like, you should have just burned it.
Okay, let's make some context for all of those out there who don't know the banana I'm talking about. There is a rubber banana lying around the office that's like a big stress ball style banana. Yes. Yes, I did give Philip my banana. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And, yeah. Anyway. Yeah. All right. Anybody with his skills can take pictures? Okay. Posting pictures of someone else's stuff doesn't count, Chris? Okay. Mo. My stuff, I swear. We got so off the rails so quick, chap. All I was doing is posting. What are you doing, Jason?
I'm painting. I don't know what you're doing. You're over there freaking exploiting chat.
All right. Let's bring it back to center. Jason is airbrushing something. What are you airbrushing, Jason?
A little bit more white here and there.
Using transparent white?
Yeah, a little bit more transparent white here and there. I got some areas that I was looking at this weekend, a little bit too dark for my liking. I figured I'd get back in here before we do too much more of other colors.
And is this thinned down transparent white or just straight out of the bottle?
Straight out of the bottle, baby.
Nice. Jason, I do feel exploited by Chris a little, says Mo. Mo, I'm here for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Not true. I'm here for you, chat.
That's the way it goes, Mo. That's the way it goes.
Oh, look at that. Okay. I can see that. Source says, I'm excited about Dune Awakening coming soon. How about you guys?
Excited about what?
Dune Awakening?
What's that?
What is that? Is that a game?
What's that?
I do paint liquor. I do. Source says it's a survival crafter. Okay, yeah. Conan Exiles, Insane Developer, and Arc. Okay, I'll have to look into that.
Chris doesn't play video games.
I actually don't really anymore. Really have to get into it nowadays, you know? I don't necessarily not want to. I just have not had the urge, chat, to play games.
I'm kind of with you on that. I'm having a hard time lately.
I have been knocking out models, so I'm just riding the painting high, to be totally honest. But yeah, video games ain't doing it for me. I wish they were.
They're very frustrating lately.
Uh-oh. Frustrating? You mean as in...
Well, you know, everything from matchmaking problems to you name it. It's like so many games that are like live service, PvP are just dwindling. They're all doing the wrong thing, like chasing the almighty buck.
Yeah.
Instead of keeping their game nice and neat.
Yep. Thumbpal enthusiast, my painting satisfaction has definitely increased since I stopped painting armies and moved to things that excite me. That'll definitely help you, Thumbpalette. Oh, and Source, 130 stream streak. Man, you guys are awesome. Yeah, I have been really, you know, it's my goal with these current projects. My current projects have been 100%. Let's get this part of the part of the model done fast and efficiently and looking good. Like this weekend, I'm like, I want to just paint these things. I want to do a bunch of little airbrush technique stuff. And then I found dark mahogany as the base for my brain on my demon model, and I really liked that. I fell in love with not dark mahogany, dark burgundy. Which the
dark burgundy.
Yeah, I think that was the color I was using. Let me double check on mine. Yes, it was. That was the base for my my brains. Dark burgundy. If y'all haven't tried that color. How much did I pay my commission artist for? $0.00. That's my stuff. Oh,
$0.00. Yeah, it's all about that cheap slave labor for Chris.
Oh my gosh, no.
Doesn't even pay the guys and gals that paint his stuff for him.
Az is asking, what colors would you use to do a red demon skin if you were doing underpainting technique? Would you still use dark purple, burgundy, and yellow green for a red demon skin?
You take the red out, right? You don't want to use red for what I hope is obvious reasons. Purple works great. And then you're probably into some yellows, but the yellows will become very orange, so you have to keep that in mind, right? And then the green can work. The greens will be pseudo browns that they turn into, so you just need to be cognizant of what's going on as you're applying the color. Watch it and see how you like it. The greenish yellows that we use a lot of the time can look really good. Because they can give you this weird orangey brown undertone for the red that works. But a lot of times, like I said, is like when you think about if you were to cut the model, what color would it bleed? Like what color blood would a red-skinned demon have? Because that color needs to exist there. And I feel like the blues and purples do that really well. So that might be all you need.
For a red demon.
Yeah. Like, what color blood do they bleed, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I would say black blood is my first initial thought. Maybe? I don't know.
Could be, yeah. Black blood is a neat thing. That one becomes a little bit harder to infuse underneath because that winds up. But like dark blues, dark purples, and such could take the place of that.
Yeah.
For sure. You know, because the colors that we underpaint with are typically the representations of what the blood and gristle and, you know, fat and all those colors would be underneath. You just have to take that into account. All right, that's what I wanted to do here today.
Nice.
Wanted to get a little bit more white on our bright side.
Okay. Oh,
I was finding it a little bit too gray on this side on some of the stuff, and now we've done away with that, and we get a nicer transition over to our shadow side, I think.
Papa Chicken's asking, I'm painting a scheme that calls for molten orange. Is that just red orange or maybe an orange red? Molten orange. That's a tough one, Papa Chicken. Molten orange.
I mean, molten orange would be like a reddish orange in my
red orange
in my book.
Okay. Okay.
Feels right.
You know what? That's what I've always said, Jason.
What's that?
If it feels right.
All right, cool. And that's good enough for government work.
Don't do it! That's dried up. That's dry.
Papa Chicken says, can you spray that mix? There's no mix. This is literally just transparent white. And that's the end of it.
That's it.
That was my perfect mix. That was the end of it. I used all of it on the model. It's transparent white right out of the bottle, no thinning. No water, no glazed wash medium, transparent white by itself. Bam.
Now, Jason, you did something today that I found interesting.
What'd I do today?
You changed out your paint water.
I changed out my paint water today. I was in the office on yesterday, Sunday.
Yeah.
And I was doing some paint adjacent things.
Okay.
And I was getting very angry with the fact that the water in my paint cup was so dirty.
I was asking like that wasn't a sarcastic comment. I was like, was there a reason why you changed your paint water?
100%. 100%. Yesterday I was working on some mixes, some pigment blends for some new colors that I'm thinking about. And as I was doing so, a lot of them are very light colors.
Yeah.
And so any kind of tinting from goop in the paint cup was throwing my color off, like graying it out.
Okay,
so, yeah.
Got it. Because for a second I'm like, you don't change your paint water often. So it's almost like, are you all right? Is everything...
I just needed something to do. I was bored.
Hey.
Yeah, so I had to change it.
I see.
It speaks to my laziness because yesterday, while I was doing all my work, I got done 14 colors that I blended.
Yeah.
And I got through all 14 without changing the paint.
I mean...
And in my head, I was bitching about it the whole time. So that lets you know who and what you're dealing with here, chat.
Oh, my gosh.
I'll get to it later. So later became today.
I thought it was an intentional thing specifically.
And so there. That's how that went down.
You want to get all those little mixes of all the colored nuances in the water. And I'm like, huh.
Yeah.
Not today.
Yeah.
I see.
Something like that.
Blood Walrus. Change the paint waters at the end of times? No. Don't take that as a bad omen. Take that as a decent omen.
Guys, just don't worry your pretty little heads about it. Don't sell your stocks. Don't sell all your stonks.
Goopster's asking, hey, did something change with shipping? The last 2 things I need to complete my full range are the new amp sets, like $100 to ship to Canada.
The only thing that has changed is that all of our shipping seems to be increasing in the States because everything on the site is done live service. So you're seeing the shipping price as dictated by the shipper with no messing around from our end.
Right.
And they've seen all sorts of increases for no reason that they can give us. UPS, USPS, but really only to Canada. We haven't seen it as a global cost increase, but Canada has been hit hard.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I can't help you with any of that. And I'll be honest with you, we're not trying to do that because we have Canadian distribution, and here very soon, if not already, those colors will be headed up there. So just hold tight. Don't spend hardly any shipping on them, would be my thought. Can you punch in?
Yeah.
I hate that people have to do that. And it would seem that, because, 80 or 90% of your entire population lives along the border.
Yeah.
That it wouldn't be that hard to ship there. No more costly than, to Buffalo, New York or something. And yet they absolutely rake you across the coals. And then I was talking to another customer via private chat, because USPS then comes in and they do their own charging based on the total shipping charge or package size or value, declared value, where they charge people basically an import fee for handling the brokerage services. And so then you get dinged again. So that's why we are cutting back on shipping internationally anything from HQ here and handling it all from worldwide locations closer to the country that you're trying to import into. So it won't be a hassle for long as we get better at that. We've got some major announcements coming in the next couple of months from the business side, which will be really cool. I alluded to one of them the other day on stream with regards to the EU. So we are definitely trying hard to make sure that we can continue to support our amazing community in other countries, regardless of what goes on in, said country or in America that might alter the way we do business with those countries.
Here's a question from Papa Chicken. This is a big one. Out of all the projects you've worked on, Jason, which one is your favorite and which one has taken the most time? And why is it they both at the Sarlacc Pit water Tupperware? And why is it the Sarlacc Pit Tupperware? That's a big question, Papa Chicken.
So wait, so you're asking me what my favorite and what's taken the longest?
And which one has taken the most time? And why is it both the Sarlacc Pit paint water Tupperware?
Oh, you already answered it then. Yeah,
there it is.
Great. I don't have to say anything.
Is that an art project? I think it is now.
It's more of a science and social studies thing.
I think it's just a global outreach project to the community.
It's like science and social studies, Christopher.
Do you have a favorite project?
Nah. Like in my whole life?
Yeah, that's what I think you're asking, but that's huge.
Yeah, that's 45 plus years of modeling and painting, and no, I don't have any one that really stands out. People always say, but what about like your Golden Demon or your Forge World Best of Show or any of that? And I'm like, those were kind of not fun because the staff at GW was forcing me to do that, kind of. Not forcing, but they were saying, you got to do it. And so it felt a little rushed. It felt a little less than stellar while I was making it happen. They weren't not fun, but I don't really have anything I can think of. Every project that is in front of me is awesome. And I can't say that. Some of them that I paint, I'm like, boy, this is like pulling teeth. So I'll be honest, right? There are some projects that I've done that I haven't enjoyed as much. Most of those would be back in the time where I was commissioning, painting for other people.
Oh, okay.
There's times where that grows really long in the tooth really quick and doesn't offer me, what I'm looking for because the piece I don't like, the thing I'm painting isn't what I would normally choose to paint, stuff like that. So that's why I don't do that anymore and haven't for a long, long time. But I think overall, I try to look at everything that I'm painting as being really cool. Like this, this towel suit is not something that I would go build a towel army, but the model itself is really cool.
Yeah, the workup's cool.
And I'm enjoying it. So, but as far as big, huge projects where, I could cue back to and say, oh my gosh, that one was so awesome. Nah. I've done some really bitchin' dioramas, things like that I've enjoyed, but none of them were pinnacle, oh my God, time of my life.
Yeah, that's a really big question.
It's tough, right? It's like asking me what my favorite color is. The one I'm painting with at any given time is my favorite color. And I know that's like a cop-out. But
well, you've said in the past you've fallen in love with the process.
Yeah,
right.
It really is. I just love the process of painting, especially painting miniatures. It's just something that, I really, really, really enjoy. And so for me, it's less about any one project and the thought process that goes along with all projects and thinking to the next project and what I might do. That's the stuff that I really love.
Yeah. Derpstick says, how would you do a bright blue plasma effect with PA paints? Bright blue plasma.
White underneath transparent blue and sky blue works really well.
Oh.
I mean, I it's not plasma, but the dim glow effect that I've done on the jump packs here is all white, using a little bit of a dark purple wash or a transparent purple wash, then more white and then transparent blue and then more white and transparent blue and then finally a highlight of white blue. You could do the same effect, and not use the purple. The purple darkens it up a little bit and gives it that kind of flame look. But yeah. The thing with doing any type of an OSL effect is knowing how to use your white, your transparent white and your titanium white to build brightness layer by layer back over your color. Doesn't matter what color. Put a base of blue down, then put some white back over it. Then put your blue over the white, which becomes brighter. Then put some white over that. Then put that mix over the white, and then white over that, and then that mix until you finally get to a point of white or very bright color. And you can do that same process with anything. Any color you like.
Mm-hmm. Baby J just did something like that on his Jedi figure. I forget the guy's name. Last week's stream. I just sent you that one, Derpstick. I don't know if you saw that one, but
yeah, he did
a nice lightsaber
blue,
effect,
which was really good.
So essentially, you could probably do that same thing in what Jason's saying on any surface, especially if it's just like a plasma coil or something, is what I'm assuming you're talking about. Larry the Jedi. Yep, that's definitely it, Papa Chicken. It was Larry the Jedi.
I thought it was Luke.
No, it's Jaris? Jaris? I don't know how to pronounce it. Kanan? That's silly. Luke Skywalker. Oh, Larry the Jedi. It's what I'm sticking with. Hey, everybody, says Panic Bomb. Hey, everybody. That's a great way to segue into my next bit. Welcome in, everybody. We're so glad you chose this stream for your viewing pleasure today.
Everybody had a great weekend?
We hope so. I hope everybody did have a good weekend. It was a nice, beautiful 68 in my neck of the woods. It was a beautiful weekend. Actually, it was a lovely weekend.
Pretty good.
Very zen. Zambi says Larry was the straight to Blu-ray version. Yes, 100%.
Larry
the Jedi.
Larry the Jedi.
The Empire Strikes Back, Larry edition. Cannibal says, I spent my weekend trying to distract myself by playing the Oblivion remaster. I've seen a lot of clips.
I heard the best review ever is that it's got, like 1 million sales and a couple 100,000 concurrent users who are all too young to have played it the first time around. Because it's like exactly the same game. And
It is, technically, because it's just a remaster.
I was surprised at how bad it looked.
It's not...
Compared to other games you pick up today, but it's a Bethesda game. They're never great. They're always a little clunky. The combat systems always suck. But the story and the thing about Oblivion, I loved Oblivion. It was on PlayStation.
Oh, you did?
I loved Oblivion when it first came out. So I would not buy a remaster. I would not buy a remaster.
I was gonna say, so how do you feel about a remaster?
I don't think I'd buy the remaster. I think that's just me and my kind of, I don't know, it needs a release. Doesn't it have the definitive edition already on PC, or was this the first time on PC?
I think this is I think they've had a couple people try, but this is their first official Bethesda Oblivion remaster, I believe.
Oh.
Cannibal says, Oblivion was my all-time favorite game. I really miss playing it. Yeah, that's what I've heard a lot of people. The nostalgia. Tremendous game. The nostalgia's coming out for people.
Yeah, tremendous game. And big fan of it. Don't know that I would buy the remaster. I would have loved to have seen, I don't know. Don't get me started. It's lazy. Right? It's just lazy. It's like if Bethesda could do this, why couldn't they make Starfield good?
That is something that I think about.
Because Starfield could have been a great, that could have been something amazing. They could make something that was actually good and not just a remaster of something that we already know was good.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like that. I'm crotchety like that. I think it's lazy.
I would agree.
I think it's lazy of companies to continue to redo the same old stuff. It's like we talk about with Hollywood. Like, why do they keep, why do we need a remake of something that was already made in like the 2000s?
Mm-hmm.
But Oblivion is a great game. So for those people, and that's why I said I really like that review, because that's what hit me and said, aha, for those people who weren't around to experience Oblivion, this is a fantastic way for them to get to experience Oblivion.
I never played it once. I've never played it once.
Wow. Well, that's great for you.
So I was thinking, is this a game I should pick up?
100%.
Because I have zero.
I would tell everybody, if you've never touched the Elder Scrolls Oblivion, you should go get it.
This would be the way to do it.
You should get it. Yeah, you should get. Well, I mean, I'm not gonna tell you to go buy a PlayStation 2 or whatever it was, or 3, and go do it, right?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I think from that standpoint, 100%.
Okay.
100%. It's great. This edition, I'm like, because that's a problem with old great games, is if they haven't been ported in ways that are really good, then people don't get to experience that. Yeah. And it's like the Bard's Tale. If you've never heard of the Bard's Tale, you should get the Bard's Tale remasters for PC. They're fairly cheap.
I think you were mentioning that not too long ago, the Bard's Tale.
Yeah, they're fairly cheap on Steam, and the Bard's Tale is one of the all-time greatest. It's along the lines of Wizardry and those that are like a little bitty window with graphics.
Yeah.
While your stats are all around it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And there's a little window of like moving one square at a time, orthogonal, or blocks. You get one block at a time.
Okay, kind of like the okay. Yep.
And so there's some really great stuff there.
Source says, I see him painting over within seconds after having painted the previous layer. Doesn't that risk tearing and creating texture?
I'm painting very, very light. It does if you're painting very wet and heavy layers of paint. You need to give them more time to dry. You know that I take most of the paint off on my thumb. So everything you see me putting on here is an unthinned, fairly opaque layer. It's only just less paint because I don't have a big glob of paint on the brush. So every layer I do here is pretty thin. And thin by, like, amount of paint, not that you can see through it.
Yeah.
They're fairly opaque, but I'm not putting a whole lot of paint on, and that paint cures very quickly because there's not a lot of it there. So that's how I do that, and I can just go right back over that area. Now, if I were glazing and it were super wet when I was glazing it on, or very thin, not much pigment left in it, I would have to make sure I move to other areas first, or I will tear it. But I'm not really glazing right now. I'm just putting, as you can tell, I mean, I'm just putting on a little bit of water on my brush and then the opaque version. Now, the yellows are a more translucent pigment anyway, so there's that. But yeah, this is that whole part of controlling the consistency of your paint as you apply it and making sure that as you are painting, you're only putting on the paint you need, not oversaturating the area that causes you problems to not be able to layer back up on. And inadvertently tearing a layer and having to redo it after you've already got a nice blend or something like that. That's always a pain in the nuggets.
Mm. Yeah, if I start playing Oblivion, I might get off my painting streak. I don't know about that. I got an Earthworm Jim diorama coming up next after seeing all this painted white. He's next. Yeah, we'll have to see, chat. Takes me a while to get into a game. And you Gabe, it's what Gabe wants, but I can't give it to him all the time. Like, I want to play a game. I don't know. I just can't play games right now.
And other things you're wanting. Like, when I get frustrated with video games, it makes painting on my own time a lot more fun. You know, I built some models on Friday night while the gang was up here doing their Dungeons and Dragons night. We have a part of the squad here that is doing a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. And so they were up here on Friday night doing that. And I was sitting in the room with them while I was building models, 7 of my
and
Free Blades
you were
models.
feeling it.
And then that just made me want to paint said models. And so yesterday my goal was to do some basing material on them, but I didn't get to. It took me too long to get my paint mixes together. So I did not do my basing. So I'm going to do that maybe tonight. Maybe I'll stay late after stream and do that tonight to get the basing materials on them.
Lumberjack Tim, and actually this is what I was going to ask you, Jason. I was very curious about this. Lumberjack Tim says, Fuse knows I'm a huge hater of GW models and lore. Those Space Wolves, though, showed today piqued my interest. Have you seen those Space Wolves?
No, I mean, I saw the pre-release stuff. Or not pre-release stuff, but the stuff they did at Adepticon.
I thought they were pretty cool. I am not a fan of that kind of stuff at all. Like the Space Marine genre a little bit. But those Space Wolves look pretty cool.
What was different about them for you?
I'm going to show you. But for me, I'll show you this, and I bet you know why. Because it almost gave it like a hint of...
Do they have pet trees now?
No, it's just... Now, if Space Marines had pet trees, it'd be all over.
Is that Logan Grimnar?
I think so.
That is Logan Grimnar, yeah.
But like,
so with his wolves and stuff, they've made these more like AOS characters, which I think has a big, neat feel to it, even though they have big tactical rocks.
Dude, this stuff.
The Terminators, the Wolfguard Terminators and stuff. This Stormcaller, yeah.
This model got me thinking. It is almost a hybrid blend of futuristic and...
They've done some really good detailing to them that doesn't make them feel just like they have bits on them. They actually have some motion that the normal ones don't, it feels like. I like the facial expressions and stuff. Yeah,
I like the beards. Anyway, I thought they were cool.
Yeah.
This model was dope.
Yeah.
Really thought that was cool. Anyway,
I like it. Yeah, Space Wolves have never been my jam, just from a lore perspective, but the models have gone through these stages of being really cool when they do custom ones.
Yeah, I thought, like I said, I normally... That kind of stuff does not speak to me, but those ones did.
Good.
They seemed real beefy.
Uh-oh, chat. We're going to have Chris painting some freaking Space Wolves soon.
I don't know. Yeah, Zambies, I'm the same way.
What'd Zambi say?
Zambi says, I said if I ever give in to Space Marines, I go Space Wolves. Yeah, I can see that. They're cool. They're cool. They piqued my interest. And then I started really thinking about what are the things that actually grab my interest.
Like just in general?
Just in general when
Oh,
it
okay.
comes to models, right? And that just had like a very... what Lumberjack Tim says. I think that's what attracted me to them. They seem more fantasy and not so...
Yeah.
yeah.
A little less silly sci-fi. You know, there's nothing more you can add to them other than a different type of gun.
Yeah.
You know,
There's
Space
cool
Marines, the whole thing with Space Marines is that the first one's cool and the 50th one just makes you want to pull your eyes out their sockets.
Yes.
Right? I think that's the problem with Space Marines is that they, and sci-fi models in general, I think have a problem with this, that they just get boring.
Yeah.
You know, there are some ways to do it that are not as boring. I think that the kind of near future sci-fi stuff that can pull it off more like Titanfall or something, you know, where you have less of a far futuristic feel of sci-fi and more of a, you know, these guys have still got some clothing. It's not just full on armor. Can help. Dune gives you that feeling. You know, the characters in Dune can make it feel like it's not quite as repetitive sci-fi suits. Of course, there's armies that feel repetitive, I guess, but...
Yeah, that repetitiveness is, I think, the thing that steers me away a little bit.
Well, yeah, because in fantasy, the army can feel cohesive, but not every unit looks the same. Yeah. When you make a Space Marines army, it doesn't matter what unit it is. Pathfinders... Terminators look different, obviously, but they're all going to look very much the same because they're just all armor and a gun, right? And so for when you're playing fantasy armies, you can have a cavalry unit and a bow unit and a pikeman unit and a knight unit, and they all can look totally different.
Yeah.
And still be on theme because they can be armored differently, have a totally different look and feel, but, you know, carry just a similar banner, maybe something that ties them together, some frilly thing that feels like it's supposed to be there. So fantasy can get away with a lot that sci-fi tends to lose.
That's a good point when it comes to, you know, cohesiveness and what the models are actually you're painting are.
Space Marines or Space Marines or Space Marines. You know, they used to have scouts. You know, you got the dreadnoughts look different, and the scouts used to look different. Now the scouts are just bigger.
Yep.
Or should I say smaller versions of the normal Marines. You know, nothing wrong with them. And the armies look great when you get them done. But for some people, it's just a little too lackluster.
Yes. Source says, selling fantasy out the wazoo, but he still paints mostly boring robots. Hey, Source. You're
fantasy model.
You're banned.
Fantasy models.
This is
fantasy model. Fantasy model. Fantasy model. Sci-fi model. Fantasy model. Fantasy model.
I needed white armor. And my hands are up.
I blame Chris.
I'll take this blame 100%.
Now, something like this can be really cool. Like I said, sci-fi models hold it together really well when you paint one. One is great. A unit or more is a little bit of just too repetitive for me. Yep. Whereas fantasy can also be that. GW falls victim to, hey, here are all my bowmen, and they're all the exact same, and that feels weird. The Lumineth army, or the Lumineth Realm Lords that I did?
The one you did.
They have a lot of stuff that is neat and unique per unit, but within a unit, they're all very samey. So painting a lot of the same unit feels like painting Space Marines. It's just the same cloak over and over and over. But then you paint the cavalry, and the cavalry are totally different. And in fantasy, you have a lot more different unit types than I think you do in sci-fi, because in sci-fi, the only thing that changes the unit type is what gun are they shooting.
Or what decals or something that they have, or emblems or anything like that.
Yeah, the weapon variation in sci-fi is a lot less. So
no, and the you were saying in those Lumineth Realm Lords, they have really cool champions. So
that's a thing too, right? Centerpiece models in fantasy, especially from GW's perspective, they do great.
Yeah, when they stick out like that, then the rest of your guys kind of don't draw as much attention. So,
well, especially that one because I did what's his nuts.
Teclis. Well, he's the bigger one. Yeah, Derpstick, that's on the one hand, I kind of agree. It's why I started with Orcs as my first minis.
Yeah, Orcs have a lot more variation. But even they get a little samey, right?
Yeah.
Because they still are just what kind of gun is on this guy. Sets them apart.
Did you ever play the Doom games? Were you into Doom?
Video games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the new one already come out?
Doom Eternal?
Doom Dark Ages?
Oh no, I don't think so.
Initial release date is May 13th. I do it's not out yet. Okay. I am curious in playing Doom. If I pick that up. Got a lot of it's kind of got some vibes that we've been talking about.
It's a weird medieval sci-fi thing, right?
They're adding like flails and they're adding shields to it, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's really weird.
It's very interesting.
See, id did a game called Hexen way back in the day that was fantasy Doom. And for those of you that either had ever known about it or seen it, it was great. It was Doom, basically. Run around, push buttons, open doors, find stuff, but it was in a fantasy setting.
And kill things.
And Hexen was really great, and I've never seen it again.
Really?
It was an old, it was like Doom. It was on a 3.25 floppy or 3.5-inch floppy, maybe 5.25-inch floppy disk when it came out. And then never again. I don't think they ever redid it or ported it or anything. I don't know if maybe it failed for them as a monetary investment back in the day, but I loved Hexen. It blew Doom away for me. It wasn't as gratuitous because it wasn't like shotgun chainsaw.
Yeah.
Like Doom was. But Hexen had spell casting and sword fighting and all sorts of crazy stuff, and I really liked it. Oh, Hexen had a sequel? Wad?
A sequel as well. Hexen was just published by them, made by Raven.
If they made a remaster of Hexen, would you play it? Well, okay. That's a great question, considering what I said in the past. I think that today it would have to be a new game, like Hexen, like they did with Doom. They did Doom Eternal, and they brought that back. Because remember, Doom had become Quake. Quake had just become Quake Arena. It was just the fast-paced PvP thing. And there weren't any real good new storylines attached to any of that. And in the meantime, you had all your other ones like Half-Life and blah, 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 blah. Hexen has been gone for so long that if you did bring it back, if somebody like id did come back, and maybe that's what this Doom Dark Ages is more, but I think it's more of a Doom, right? Run and gun.
Also a prequel, says Derpstick, to Doom 2006 and Doom Eternal.
Heretic was the first one, and then and there were sequels to both Heretic and then Hexen.
Huh.
It's also a prequel to Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, so you don't have to worry about understanding the story, not like you played Doom. Yeah, I don't think you really played Doom for the story. I mean, there's a story behind it that you can go figure out, but while you're playing, there's no time for story in Doom.
Oh, dude, you're just blasting demons to death.
Yeah. Gauntlet was good. Yep.
I'd be interested in... Yeah, so we'll see.
I think it's lazy from the standpoint of I'm tired of the world of creatives falling back on known properties that are simply there for their commercial gain.
Yeah.
Could they redo something like Hexen, Heretic, and make a lot of money? If they knew they could, they would have. I don't think it made them enough commercial success back in the day for them to redo it, but who knows? Doom and Quake were the big properties, right? So I don't know. I just am tired of redos.
No,
if you want to tell something else in that universe, go for it. Like you know, a new Star Wars movie that, you know, like when they did, I don't like any of these, but when they did the Tales of Boba Fett or whatever it was, you know, that's a valid thing. Bring back a really cool character in a world that has a lot of vibrancy and do something with it. I didn't enjoy it when I was watching it. I thought it was very lazily done. But that's neither here nor there. That's just a subjective opinion. I think that there's a lot of stuff that when you create a world like the world of Doom or the world of Half-Life, that you can make all sorts of properties within it. That can be lazy if you fall back on just the name and stop putting effort into the story, right?
Yep.
Along the lines of like Dragon Age. The latest Dragon Age was just, it felt like, wow, it's just using the title as a way to make some money. It really had no flair to it at all. So there's a lot of those that they just run into the ground by doing too many sequels on them. So that can get lazy. But I think it's valid to try. I think it's just be creative. You know, I think you'd be remiss if you didn't allow universes to grow and have variations on the theme. I just think that it gets lazy when you do Oblivion again, right?
It's kind of like the 15th version of Skyrim, right? It's like,
Well, and, you know, technology changes enough that there are still generations, like I bought Oblivion when it was new, and I still play video games, so when Oblivion comes out, I feel like I was robbed of the opportunity to have a better game. But that's me, and I'm old, and I've been around for a long time, and so I know I'm just old man yells at clouds with a lot of this stuff, because like I said, the thing that brought it back into perspective for me was that when they redid Oblivion, there's a lot of people that weren't around for the first time. Now they can experience Oblivion, because Oblivion can't be played on its original format by most people.
Yeah.
You know, so in a perfect world, you'd have a way to port that technology forward so that you could go pick up Oblivion on PlayStation 5, right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have to remaster it, because the money that a studio spends remastering and porting it over to a new engine and all of that stuff seems like, wow, I was robbed of the opportunity to have a better game, right? When they could have made the same amount of money just by bringing Oblivion forward. So, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, don't redo Firefly, right? It's like you can use that universe that's rich and create some new characters and new stories in it. That's what I've always wished would happen with most of what they try to do, you know? Like, how many times are they going to reboot Spider-Man? How many times are they going to reboot Batman? How many times are they going to reboot Superman? It's like, come on, man. Why can't it be played? You can download it on a low-end PC, no problem. Oblivion? That's why I was asking Deadbeat. I don't know, did Oblivion hit for PC? I only had it on, like, PlayStation.
The original one?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I literally have no
idea.
idea.
I only had it on PlayStation, so I just don't know. I know there was a definitive edition for Oblivion. All right. So I'm going to do some edge highlighting here, and then we will do some airbrushing again. It's hard to make something interesting when you're making something inherently derivative. This is the problem I've had with Rings of Power. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same.
I don't even think it looked good visually. It was really cheap looking, Rings of Power. I didn't watch season 2. So
I think
the first one, all the armor looked like it was made out of cardboard, and it was just like, it was super cheap for them having hyped it as being $1 billion project.
Yeah, I think
I don't know what they spent the $1 billion on, because it sure wasn't on any of the practical effects or the costuming or anything like that.
I think the second season did better when it came to like practical effects and like scale, like army scale stuff.
Yeah,
like big battle. But
the derivative works thing, I think, is a problem, and I've said it many times. It is a lack of bravery in the world of mass consumer entertainment. There is a dearth, right, of people who are willing to take risks over the promise of income. And that's usually a symptom of systemic industry greed, I'll call it. I don't like using those terms because it sounds overly, almost politicized. But when you get things that happen like that,
it's true.
Right, it turns into a situation where the industry as a whole is more concerned with the money than the delivery of the entertainment. And if you would take that and walk it backwards, obviously Hollywood in particular developed out of the need to, make money. But originally it was because it was such an awesome thing to have these movies and this storytelling experience, and you had these visionaries out there making really creative things and, you know, treading new ground, and people were really excited, and so that drove investment in it, right? Because yes, there are people that are just there to make money, but they took advantage and leveraged this cool thing. Video games were no different, right? Video games used to not have any money behind them. Now they have all the money behind them. They have more money in video games than in Hollywood, right? And so, but then at some point in time, there takes a turn where the money is no longer virtuous. The investment is no longer helping to drive creative awesomeness. It's just there as investment and looking for return. None of which is inherently evil, I don't think. But it stifles the creativity because you have really creative things that won't get greenlit because they don't buy an IP. Oh, hell, let's talk about board games. Right? Let's talk about the amount of board games that all they are is licensing stuff nowadays. There's still a lot of really good indie board games, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the big companies are just licensing Dark Souls, licensing Assassin's Creed, licensing this, licensing that to get something because they know they'll make money on a Kickstarter. Yeah. And they don't have to write a good game. I'm the guy that says you should probably focus on making a good product and taking care of your customer first. Right? And not have to rely on some silly IP to get you there.
No, it
doesn't mean if you love Star Wars, don't make a Star Wars game.
Right.
You know, make a Star Wars game, go license it, but make it a good game inherently first. Have that be your function.
That way, because then the foundation is built on something that's good rather than just something that people can glom onto.
100%.
Brutal Burrito, no sorries needed. That's a good question. Sorry to go off topic, but what would you make a base coat for gore? Dark plum or dark magenta? Painting up some death card at the moment.
For gore? What's gore? Like blood and gore?
Blood and gore, brutal.
Mahogany is great.
Dark burgundy?
Dark burgundy, mahogany.
I love dark burgundy right now.
The mahogany I love because it gives you that brownish background for like dried blood. So when you paint it as the base and then you bring your other gore like burgundies and reds in towards the highlight, it makes it look like the gore has started to dry where it thins out along the edges and you get that brownish mahogany color, which is really great. So that works really well. Even on swords, I'll do mahogany first and then I'll start stippling in other bits of burnt reds, red, oxides, burgundies, and things like that. To get the chunky parts.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's a good point too.
There's like 3 or 4 Cyberpunk board games, but you'll keep getting them. I mean, it doesn't make it a bad thing to buy. I'm not making a comment about you as a purchaser, as a consumer of these things. I'm just saying that not only would you have bought those Cyberpunk deals, but you probably would have had even more fun buying something new that tickled that same fancy that lets you explore different universes. You know? And that's not everybody. Some people out there would just buy 5 million Star Wars things and not care about there ever being anything else. Same with Star Trek. You know, they don't care about any other sci-fi. That's fine.
Rubrayo says, like exposed rib cages and peeled off skin. Okay. Yeah.
I did this weird workup on the dead horse here that was not using any reds. Right?
Yeah.
I just use like bone and yellow ochre and ivories. And then I put the magenta wash over them to give it that pinkish, raw flesh look. And so all the holes in his flesh are done that way. And it still gives it a really good look without having to push into reds that look a little too comic booky every now and then. This just looks like, irritated flesh. But you could put darker reds in there too, mahoganies and things like that.
I was really liking the satin properties of dark burgundy. Of ours, like, oh, okay, this is under gore that's typically wet looking, right? Plus our dark crimson is gloss too, so.
Yep. The new black red is really good.
Oh yeah, that would be good too. Of course, Brutal Burrito. And hey, speaking of your questions, if you all have questions, make sure to tag Monument Hobby so I can see them. And here is a question Jordan asks, what colors would you choose for Tyrannids in an icy environment? Are you talking about the environment itself, or are you talking about the Tyrannid skin, or armor, or plating, or bug carapaces?
Probably all of it, right? Like
So
if
maybe
they were on an ice planet, Tyrannids, because of the symbiotic nature of them, right? They take the biomass from the area that they're in.
Oh.
To make the creatures that you
the biomass in the area.
Yeah, I mean the Hive Fleet shows up, and the Hive Fleet is what the Hive Fleet is.
Yeah.
But as they get attuned to the planet that they're on, they start to change and look different. So, at least in a lot of the lore, right?
Tyrannids itself, says Jordan.
So I like the idea of like purples and blues. The kind of color scheme I used on the polar bear warrior that we did, I think would be perfect. Royal purple, dark gray blue, blue white, or white blue into that. I think there's a lot of really good color combos for ways you could do, the chitin and the skin and all that. Magentas look good as a warm push into what's otherwise a very cold feel, right? This was royal purple as a base, and then the blues, the dark gray blues and
yeah, I love that.
Payne's gray washes, and then the white blue, for like white fur, so you can get a really good coloration for like all of that, and then magentas and splashes of other colors like you would work really well. I've used the jades on the armor, and that works really well too.
Mm-hmm. I was looking at your bruised metal tutorial. Could you replace the jade and the turquoise with burnt orange and yellow ochre for a dark angel bone armor?
For which tutorial?
Metal. Let's see. Let me out 1 second. Defresh.
And I'm glazing the pale yellow into these highlights along the top flat areas of the helmet. Get a little bit more punch up there.
This is the question here for you.
I was looking at the bruised white. It's the bruised white from my Nurgle stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the bruised white. Could you replace the jade and turquoise with burnt orange and yellow ochre for dark angel's bone? I would probably. That starts with dark purple.
Look it up.
Yes. If you went purple into the orange and the yellow ochre and then the olive flesh over the top of that. I think you might get a little too jaundiced, a little too warm with the bone color. I really, for that, like doing the purple could still be useful, right? The dark purple into burnt umber, right? Or not burnt umber, into dark umber, and then light umber, and then the olive flesh gives you a more natural approach to it. You could replace the light umber with one of the newer, warmer ones if you wanted a little bit of yellow in there. Something like the dark orange brown would work really well instead of light umber, So you could do something like this before you did the bone, but I would probably do dark umber first, right? So you could do purple, the dark purple. Dark purple as a base for that shadow color, dark umber, dark orange brown, and then the olive flesh tone or the bone over the top of that. This way you get a little bit of warmth, you get a little bit of cool shadow, but you're not as pushing into that yellow range. So when you put the bright color over the top, it's not going to be what I call jaundice looking. I like that. I'd start there. I would use that workup for like parchment, like nasty parchment.
What paints did you use for the non-metallic gold on that bear? That was more
burnt
of
sienna,
your yellowish.
burnt sienna,
gold.
burnt orange, yellow ochre, pale yellow. Right?
Wow.
So it gives you that reddish, orangish. You never get a yellow in there. If you punch in super close on that,
Yep.
you'll notice there's no yellow. The pale yellow acts as a white. Right?
Acts as
There's
a
not
white.
really, there's a little bit of glaze of the yellow ochre that gives it a tinge, but it was meant to be more of like almost a coppery feel.
Man, okay. I was just looking up where we had some of these tutorials, right?
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize that you only painted that Blood Angel guy 2 years ago.
Yeah. The one we always show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was longer than that, but it's
No.
only been 2 years.
Yeah.
The mo you know.
Yeah, because it was...
Okay, I see it. Okay.
There was a guy that came out with those 3D printed Primaris scale Horus Heresy armored Marines.
Right.
And that was the whole point of those, was to be able to get me
Okay.
the Primaris scale Heresy armor, Heresy marks of armor.
Okay. Yeah. I see. I missed out on painting your Death Guard. Hey, it's out there. Orky Fish Meat says, I need some good tree models. Well, well, well. Somebody's looking to paint some trees.
We have a guy here that likes trees.
I know I preach it, though, but that the Sylvaneth Wildwoods are great trees. They're super fun to paint. Plus, they just look clean. I use them for
I like my
terrain.
yellow.
I like that. Is it? Oh. Oh.
Gives us a neat punch.
Jason,
Sir.
which celebrity is always ready for a bowl of cereal? Reese with her spoon.
Oh my God. Who do I blame for this?
That's Papa
That's
Chicken.
actually pretty good.
Reese with her spoon.
That's actually okay.
Little Billy, yes, Jason cannot seem to stay away from non-metallic gold. Just like Chris can't stay away from being a goo goo gaga baby. Whoa!
Goo goo
Coming in
gaga
hot,
baby.
little
Wow.
Billy.
How many sushi points did he just lose?
So many sushi points. And now apparently there was some... All right, everybody, I need to make something clear.
There were some counterfeit sushi points in the market, I heard.
There was, okay, yes. I'm so glad you brought this up. And Chuck had brought it up earlier, and I needed more information on this. But from my understanding, out in the world at large, people in quotes, the greater public, was deeming currency that was illegal, potentially, this weekend. And I just want to know, and I cannot condone the giving of sushi points in any form or matter unless it comes from me. Do not use those as legal tender.
You're messing.
Don't use mine as legal tender. So everybody just calm down on the giving of sushi points. We can't have this dark web nonsense going on. This black market of sushi points. Yeah. Everybody be careful out there. Who knows if it's going to be... You just can't give yourself 1 trillion sushi points, Ghost Hunter. That's not how this works. Wad says it was completely legitimate sushi points. False. I cannot condone this.
There was no Christmas sushi there. That I can attest to.
That's right. Sell your gold and buy sushi points. Yeah, that's right. When the economy's down. Here's a question. When base coating the paint, let's see. I'm going to go back and read this. Often, when base coating, the paint will not want to stick and just collapses back on itself. I'm not thinning it any more than the water in the brush. I haven't had this problem with any other brands. What might be some of the causes of this?
I don't understand collapses in on itself. What does that mean? What are you painting it over?
Yeah, so maybe clarify that. So I don't.
Like, are you talking about like a base coat over like a Citadel primer? That's usually where that story comes in.
Collapses on it.
Beads up.
Yeah, is it speeding up? Be a little bit more. Painting over. Oh, yeah, okay. Here we go. Painting over primer. It's been Citadel or Army Painter. Yes, beads up.
So they lie to you and they tell you their primer is matte, and it isn't. It's satin. And the longer they sit, which they're, and I hate it, I'm not trying to slam them. They're great companies. They do great things, but their spray paint is garbage. They have to order their spray paint in such huge amounts that it sits around in warehouses forever. And as it settles in a warehouse, it winds up doing this settling of the matte. That means that the paint doesn't mix right, gives it kind of a satin finish. And that satin finish will definitely be a little cumbersome for our paint to go over. It really wants a matte base to start from, like literally no shine. So you'll have to do like 2 coats. You can, it doesn't cause it to have a problem. As it beads up, that first coat just looks horrible, right? But once it's on there, you can just literally take that and put another coat of the same color. Let it dry and then put another coat over the same thing. That first layer will still spread the acrylic and the matte across the surface. It just takes you that extra step, which is a pain. I wish we could, well, we fixed it. We made our own spray paint that's actually really good. But if you don't have access to like our spray primers, then just do that second coat.
If you haven't used ours, I mean, it'll change your life. It's so matte. You can't see it in the dark half the time.
That's the problem when we do the spray prime on stream. It's tough because you can't see any details on it. It's like the blackest black. But yeah, our paints definitely don't like the satin surface to start on.
Okay. Chuck says, you'd approve, Chris. Wad gave Jade sushi points because she was able to wrestle open the ice cream container so we could top off the cobbler. I don't
know about that.
So I see your point, but the problem is legal tender from me, indirectly from me, was unable. I was unable to be there in the living proof. You can't just distribute money out of thin air. And you cannot just produce sushi points. And even though I might consider giving them, you cannot do it unless I deem it will. And so, that's my TED Talk.
And that's my TED Talk. What Chris is trying to say is that you are not a global government.
There it
and
is.
Cannot
yes,
just
thank
simply
you.
print your own money.
Horde, yes. I actually just got a can of your primer, but I haven't used it yet. You're going to love it. My local shop was out of it forever. Putting a matte varnish.
Yep. Yeah, if you matte, I know that's another step, but that if you're going to do 2 steps, the simplest one is to do matte varnish over your primer base, and then you'll have it no problem. I hate that you have to do either one of those, right?
Yeah.
So it's much easier to just paint. Like we never, just over our own airbrush or our own air can primer, it's just good to go. But that's because everything we do has a very matte surface. Pro Acryl has a longer open time. So one of the things that we developed the paint was to give it the ability to blend for a longer period of time and do more natural blending with it that you didn't have to fight with or spend a lot of time on your palette to make additives. It does mean that with that longer open time, it is less... what would I say? What's the right word? It's more sensitive to surfaces like glossy surfaces, right? When you paint over glossy surfaces. So, yeah, if you matte in between, then we don't have any problem.
Isn't your primer just color forge in your own tones?
It's reformulated. War Masters Forge. Like if you were to spray our black and their black, you'll see the difference in matte. Like even the normal color forge stuff is still slightly satin. Ours is freaking matte.
Yo, ours is extremely matte. I would say ours is a true matte compared to any.
We don't mess around. Yeah. it's like our paints. Think of coal black. That's like how our spray is.
I've used a couple.
Little Billy next week. Supposed to be here in a couple of days, but I can't guarantee that in a couple of days we'll have all of the new color forge primers ready to go.
You said it, yeah, next week.
Yeah,
and we will have announcements for you guys on that too. So keep
100%. Again, I'm using Fail Yellow, which looks bright enough to be white, but is nowhere near white. I'm fooling you by putting it over a darker background, but we're getting brightness out of it.
Oh no, Jade, that sounds a crew member went down. That's not good.
What does that mean?
From Jade says, in today's adventures of fabrication shops, I had a crew member go down. Not sure if it was a stroke or what. Yikes. Emergency crew was there within a minute. Won't go into the gory details. Ugh. I'm so sorry. That's really sad.
I wish them the best.
Yeah.
There's never a good time to
have an
that be the
accident at work.
case.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yes, we'll let you all know when that wave comes out of the next Color Forge primers. Check our socials. That announcement will be going live when they go live. Will you be painting any more Trench Crusade?
Yeah, whenever they decide to get us the rest of the models. They did an announcement on their Kickstarter that was a little disconcerting. They decided that they were going to do all of the backers that did the all-in have to wait till the very end, because rather than like what they said they were going to do was print them all out, fulfill all the all-in pledges, and then out of that do all the individual faction pledges. And then instead what happened is that I think with the printing they've run into some timing issues where it's taking them longer to dial in every faction as they print it. So as they dial it in and get it all perfect, then it makes sense. Then they'll send everybody that ordered that faction.
Okay.
And then they're just going in some order they've picked. So we won't get our models till next year. I don't know.
Dang.
So I probably won't be until we get all the models.
What do you suggest to darken or lighten Pro Acryl basic color paints?
Darken or lighten our basic color paints?
Yeah, you maybe get a little bit more specific with that question.
Well, I mean, like the normal line for tint, tone, and shade on any paint, you're really just talking about the need for black, white, and gray if you want to do it that way. That's going to desaturate. Like if you're familiar with standard color theory, then as you darken or brighten a color with neutrals, what I call the heavy neutrals, like white, black, and gray, right? It works. It does what you want it to do. It also causes an issue where it sucks the color out to some extent through desaturation. If you've ever, put a lot of white into red, you know that you get this bubblegum pink real quick. That's because of the desaturation of the red. But it does brighten it up. So you have that ability. Okay? So that's one way to look at it. For darkening colors, I typically like to use something in that color family that's of a lower value. Value meaning that black is at 0, white is at 10, if you want to think of it like that. Dark to bright. So if I were going to want to darken our blue, our base blue, right? So if I have base blue from the base set, right? I could add black to it, but I will start to lose the blue. It's like a vampire. Blacks, whites, and grays are like vampires. They suck the hue out of a color. So it will darken it, but it will lose the intensity of the blue. If I wanted to keep this very blue, then I would take something like dark blue, right? Because now I have a low value, almost black, that I can put into blue that also has some blue in it, so I don't suck the blue out of it. Does that make sense? And to brighten this, I would use white blue. Right? Because again, leans a little bit blue. So as I brighten it, I don't get it to bubblegum out so fast. It'll get bright real quick, but it won't desaturate to the point where I feel like it's no longer the blue I want. And that's the same of all colors. Now, when you're dealing with things like reds, like if you were going to want to brighten or darken magenta, on darkening the magenta, you could also use like dark purple. You could use dark blue again. Things like that. And then when you want to brighten it, I would actually use what I'm using right now on this model. I would use pale yellow, right? Because the yellow into the magenta will create, magenta and yellow make red. So this is a lighter magenta and a pale yellow, but when you put them together, it will keep the reddishness that you're looking for while brightening the color up. Whereas if you were to put pale pink in here, pale pink will start dragging it towards that very like bubblegum pink. So it depends on what you want. Usually when you're using magenta, it's because you want that heat. You want that intensity of the reddishness of magenta. And so using a bright yellow to highlight it will keep that going. That takes some knowledge of color mixing in order to pull off as you go through some colors. Right? But you could just as easy use pinks. Like flesh tones for reds work great. Our warm flesh is one of my favorites. Right? Using warm flesh with red is fantastic. It gives you this really neat salmon color. That's what we use like on our blood angels, right? For the highlight on here. So it still allows the model to remain intensely red, but the highlights still give you the vibrancy that you want to, right? That kind of, we call it eclectic salmon, right? That kind of almost like faded hot pink, if you will.
Yep. Here's a question from, we got quite a bit here. Firebrush says, can you just add color paint to white primer and airbrush to speed up primer base layer for my son's Space Marines? Or is there a primer performance reduction to do it that way? So like adding color to like white primer, airbrush primer?
So you have a polyurethane in the primer that does not exist in the resin in the paint. The paints are not polyurethane. The primers are. The urethane in the primer is what gives it the ability to latch onto substrates like plastic or metal or whatever and be stronger than just a normal layer of paint. A normal layer of acrylic resin paint will adhere to plastic without a primer. It has more of a chance to move, especially when you re-wet it or dry brush over to give it more force. So yes, as you dilute with a non-polyurethane paint into a polyurethane paint, it will stop being as good of a primer. Our primers from the airbrush standpoint are already very light with the poly so that they're easy to clean out of the airbrush but still give you strength on the model. So I always suggest no, don't do that. And then just do your base coat over the top. You know, that's one of the great things with the ColorForge primers is that they give you the ability to rattle can out a colored base. You know, with our primers, you've got black, brown, and camo green, and then the white, gray, black. We're going to make a dark purple, and a red oxide and a bone primer as well that'll be coming out here soon. So we'll give you more colors, but we'll never get all of them. I look at those base colors as a way to give you a good influence shadow tone to a model, not to be the color of the model, right? So like the dark camo green primer is never intended to be the color of the tank. It's meant to be the shadow color of the tank, and you'll put like camo green over the top of that and so on and so forth. Same with black brown. Doesn't mean you couldn't use it that way, sure, but it's going to be a very dark coloring. So if you were doing like ultramarines, you would paint the white and then you would paint the blue over the top of it. Don't mix it in with the white primer if you can avoid it. You can try it, right? But the primer is really meant to be on its own. Would the more matte finish change anything about the tone of the paint you're using? Would the gray primer change how warm gray, for example, looks? Or would it not matter once you put more layers on? Once you get to opacity, it doesn't matter at all. The idea of the different colored primers is that like a white primer is going to make your first coat of a color brighter because you're going to see some of the white through it. So a lot of people will use white primer when they're going to paint yellows and reds and bright, you know, like doing Marvel Crisis Protocol, paint white primer. A lot of people do because then that first uniform color is really intense. I paint everything with black. I mean, we did this guy in black. You know, we're painting white armor. Where do you start? Black, right?
If you were painting a 70s RV scale model in the desert and wanted that off-white, yellow, orange, brown set of colors, what would be your palette?
Say it! Say my name. I feel like that's a Walter White reference. Doing a diorama with an RV in the desert.
If that's what you're looking for. Off-white, yellow, orange, brown set of colors.
I mean
the flame
yellow ochre, and like warm brown are those quintessential old like Winnebago, Burger King restaurant colors. Burnt orange, yellow ochre, warm brown work really great. The off-white, like olive flesh, dark umber, light umber, olive flesh like we do works fantastic for that.
I'm on your shop's main website. If I wanted to get one of every paint/metallics, what do I need to do to add it to my cart?
You've
said this with the sets before.
So we have the Mega Set. The Mega Set is the easiest and most cost-effective way to get 69 of our main paint range. It includes all the metallics, the 3 initial washes in black, brown, and flesh. As well as the base set, expansion sets 1, 3, 4, and the metallics, right? So it gives you a lot to play with for a really good price. Then, if you want to get all of the other colors, you need to add expansion set 2 and all of the signature sets to that. And the fluorescence, if you want the fluorescence, always leave the fluorescence out.
And the amp set.
Oh, and now the amp set.
Yep.
Yeah, so we may restructure that. It's always tough for us to do like an all-in because people, it's such a pain because we give you a hell of a deal. That one's like 22% off of retail if you buy the Mega Set. So it's the best value to jump into the line. And we still get a ton of people that are like, oh my God, it's too expensive. Need for free, please send.
Question, can your paints be used as a speed paint, and how would that work?
Yeah, sure. Our glaze wash medium does exactly that. We have a video on our YouTube channel that goes in depth on how to mix our paints with the glaze and wash medium to achieve that effect. The glaze and wash is a colorless medium that is matte that allows you to do exactly that. Turn your paints into glazes and washes and filters, which is what a speed paint is. So any of our colors can be done like that. John Nenis has a video where he takes the contrast medium that GW makes and mixes it in with our transparents and gets a better effect than the contrast paint. So there's also that method if you already have some contrast medium. But you can do the same thing with the glaze and wash. And when you do it, you're probably like 8 to 10 wash to 1 color. Lots less paint, lots more glaze medium, and then a little bit of water to get it to flow.
Bouray's asking, pale yellow is your brand's ice yellow, question mark?
Bright pale yellow is our brand's.
Ice yellow?
Yeah, ice yellow. Bright pale yellow versus pale yellow.
Okay,
pale yellow is still a dark enough color that while it looks like a white, right, you can get brighter. I mean, to give you an idea, like when we put them next to white, they both look dark, right? But the bright pale yellow is more like ice yellow.
Cannibal says, maybe you guys should just have a button that adds everything. Is it that easy?
I hear it's that easy.
Well, because then if you add everything, then you're adding all the sets. So you'd have to have a custom coded button that is the one of everything button, right? Which then adds all of that.
We've thought about it. We implemented it a long time ago when there were a lot fewer paints. And it was never used. There was always a point where people were like, well, I need everything except. So that's when we were just like, well, you guys always know better than we do what sets you want. For new people coming in, the Mega Set has worked like a champ. Tremendous amount of people purchase the Mega Set because it's a great starting point. And then you can still, benefit from all of the build your own set mechanics on the site too. I think that's kind of where I want to be on this.
The reason why I question about all the paint purchases is because I'm going to be hosting a paint class and want to use exclusively Monument paint line.
Awesome. Where at a retailer?
We also do event support stuff too, so
Yeah, I was going to say if you're doing it at one of the retailers or something where we sell, then you can always contact our support line, and they might be able to get you hooked up through the retailer as well. We love supporting various painting in the community events. All right, so we still got this side dark, but a little bit of highlight like we're doing with the white. And then this side's looking pretty good as a yellow. Shiny yellow. We've done the little thigh plate thingamajiggers.
I'm going to be hosting an office building that will be able to rent me out a space up to 50 people. Nice.
Oh, so you're doing it on your own. Great.
Oh, that's cool. How's the weather today in Phoenix, Ghost Hunter? It's amazing. And like I said, Chad, if I missed your question, be sure to retag me.
Resin, don't be shy. Send info for your class schedule once you get the spot and all that. Send it to support@monumenthobbies.com as an email, right? And if you can get them information on the classes and where you show your advertising or your promotions for it and all that kind of stuff so we can see it, then we can help you out for sure.
My Pro Acrylic paint's a little out of time. Yeah, the brochure will help you with that too.
Yeah, our color brochure you can download, and it has like check marks on it.
Yep.
Going to start calling me gold member? What? I feel like that's yellow.
Is that yellow? Is it gold?
It's kind of like wish.com non-metallic gold.
It kind of looks gold. I think I would call that yellow armor.
Yeah.
Well, it's
shiny
yellow,
painted yellow.
It's looks yellow metal.
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
I don't.
Ghost Hunter, you're banned.
I don't do my gold like
You're banned.
This is
I
how
did it.
do
I
my
just
gold.
had the power. Ooh, interesting.
Very different. Very, very different.
I'm really struggling, says Papa Chicken, with colors and ratios to paint Synthwave inspired scheme on some BattleTech suggestions. Synthwave inspired scheme.
With colors and ratios. Ratios of what?
Yeah, I do not know what's Synthwave, Jason.
Synthwave is all that Miami Vice, like
oh, okay,
bright hot, like the dark hot pink and the electric blues and yellows.
Got you.
And
okay,
stuff like that, right?
Huh.
What do you mean you're struggling with colors and ratios? Like ratios of how much of each color on the model? I think Synthwave looks the best when it's like those old, like it gives me the vibe of Tron, like dark blue, dark purple, and then it gets lighter up to like a horizon line, and that horizon line is like a burning orange magenta, and then into yellow at the top. I think that would be bitchin'.
I think that's what he's answering your question right now, Papa Chicken. Which colors and how?
Wait
much.
a minute! It always winds up feeling a bit too loud. Says the person trying to do Synthwave on your BattleTech?
That's the point.
It's supposed to be loud.
It's Synthwave. I'm just looking up the.
I am gonna make fun of you for this.
Oh, what?
You do not paint something Synthwave to have it be silent and deadly.
It is.
It's Synthwave because it doesn't care about camo. It's like Imperial Fist didn't paint their armor yellow to be stealthy. They painted their armor yellow because come at me, bro.
Be bold.
Yeah.
Be bold.
Be loud. Be bold. Do dark purple, right? And do a horizon line at like the chest. Do the legs dark purple. Then you do that into royal purple around the waist, right? Turn these down so you can see, right? Then you do dark hot pink, right? Like at the chest line, like a horizon line.
Okay.
Right? And then you start with your like bismuth yellow, right? You take the bismuth yellow and start mixing it in to that, right? So that you get that kind of hazy horizon line. And then, I mean, you could go to sky blue on top of that if you wanted to, right? You could do like sky blue at the very top.
Oh yeah, there's so many. Okay, I'm understanding now.
Yeah, see, I just did exactly what is on that page.
Yeah, I just
We just looked it up and showed me a picture. Like, ta-da!
Be loud.
And do the mixing in between each of these, and you'll get it great. And you can pull that dark purple and royal purple up to like the shoulders, and then just do the shoulders with the magenta, the yellow, and the blue, so it looks like some crazy psychedelic skyline. But you could move this up and down along the vertical of the model. I wouldn't go side to side necessarily, but you could do that, and it would only be because that part wouldn't be super vibrant. So you can make that go as far as you want and then just push these vibrant colors into the smallest area where you feel comfortable using them. But it's supposed to be loud, man.
Papa Chicken says, the issue is more that I can't keep the colors from clashing. My main colors are orange and pink, though. Not enough dark purple, maybe? Question mark? Maybe. Not enough dark purple.
I mean, I would again rifle back and say the whole point of that is that all those colors clash. They look clown suit.
When you say clash, you mean like clash as in, I guess, clash is when a color, I don't know how to describe clashing. Well,
there's like too much value right in between them all, right? I would say clashing, but I don't know. He said they can't keep the colors from clashing. Your main colors are orange and pink. Orange and pink would want a yellow someplace probably. I mean, so Jen did, okay, here, let me go get it. I know exactly where this model is.
Oh, good. Oh, this is me alone time. He'll never hear me because he won't be able to hear this portion. You're all mine, chat. I'm coming for all of you. I'll hunt you all down one of these days. Mind you and Hobbies will never know. I'll be the culprit. After all, what is a drama without a villain? Hey, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Jason. Oh!
Here's Jen's Synthwave Tiger.
That's actually pretty cool.
Right? Dark purple into magenta. She would use the dark hot pink now. This was magenta with the red transparent. Right? And then the orange and then the yellow. The golden yellow. Right? So that's Jen painting Synthwave Tiger. So just do that. Make them Synthwave Tiger.
That is a very good, hopefully, Papa Chicken. It's Lisa Frank. She did a Lisa Frank style, didn't she?
That's it.
Yeah.
What techniques does she use to blend? Patience. That is 100% brush.
Patience and prunes.
100% brush. Jen does not use an airbrush.
Jen does not use an airbrush. Oh, wow.
She's a supreme blender of colors. Most of what she does is by mixing on her palette. So she will have that blend between the orange and the yellow and the magenta. She'll have it strung out over like 5 inches on her palette with all of the colors in between and meticulously go in and do each of those colors. Very much like Mashik, right? Like Flame On. She has a style that's very similar to the way he blends. She doesn't do the hard banded color first. She blends as she goes. But yeah, her blends are second to none. She's incredible.
Risen says, I'll definitely email you guys once I'm up and running and ads are running. Oh,
cool.
Nice. I'm trying to get more people happy and excited to get into the hobby and get them excited about Procryl. Love that.
Anna Starkey. Yeah, Jen is one of the best painters in the world. She just refuses to believe it and refuses to come on stream and paint anymore. She is super awesome. And she's only painted like maybe a couple dozen models.
Yeah.
Ever.
Couple.
Like her big models, like when she starts trying to do busts and stuff, she knocks it out of the park. Yeah. She's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
How many sushi points does it need to take to save up for Jen to make an appearance on stream? And paint? Probably millions. She could do it one day, I bet.
We should set her up to come in and stream for a whole week. So she could do a project. She could pick a model and finish a model.
Yep.
She paints pretty quick.
How's her tree painting game? Her tree painting game?
Oh, she could kill a tree.
Oh, she could kill a tree.
Yeah, the last thing that I think, one of the last things she was painting was the Marvel United Deadpools. She had the Deadpool on a unicorn, right?
The agenda, a Lisa Frank tree. I don't know. Orky Fish, you're thinking about painting some trees, huh?
Jade says I can contribute a million sushi points.
No, those aren't legal points. We are okay. Wait a minute.
There is some dispute as to the legitimacy of your sushi points.
Yes, so I will make a legal document with the help of ChatGPT, and I will send you all a legal document of the official. You know what? I've been on a very big kick lately, chat. Let me back this up.
Huge,
a big kick
of
making myself clear and concise. Now,
pale yellow.
I don't do that well through speech sometimes, but through legal tender and writing, I excel. So, I, as in Christopher, will give you a document.
Oh, here he goes.
At said point of how sushi points work going forward.
And I apologize.
Wasn't it an academic bus? I don't know.
She did the Road Girl academic?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Wad said, I signed Chris's name right on them. That doesn't... Okay, Wad, that's called forgery. All right.
He's not wrong. It's a little suspicious.
There's a lot going on. And
a little suspicious.
Chat, I have done you a disservice by not making myself clear because I am on Jason's... As Jason
Chris is clear as mud.
As Jason would say, I'm on the warpath, because I am, to make myself clear with you, chat, because I never want to do a disservice to you, because I love you. There it is. I said it. You heard it, chat. I love you guys. Right?
X up in chat if you think Chris is still lying.
What? No!
Still lying. This is still lying, Christopher.
Flapjack, no. Chris, you're very clear. We know what we are dealing with. Okay. I'm going to make myself even more.
Clear as
what about
mud,
if we
Chris.
post an actual sushi? Now that would potentially get you some sushi points. There's ways to get them. Lads Casablanca in the 90s. Yes, Chuck. I would say I feel like sushi points in the grand scheme of things are only slightly less valuable than tokens from the Aladdin's castle bought in the mid 90s.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like
well,
that's about right.
All right. You asked for it, chat. That's what I said.
There's a famous saying where I come from that is don't take any wooden nickels or sushi points. So
wooden nickels and sushi points. Derpstick, thank goodness for a painting question. What would you use as a workup to pale flesh for Tyrannids? The skin I'm imagining uses ivory. Uses ivory. Would bright ivory be good as a highlight? Pale flesh.
Yeah, I mean, I think dark ivory, and ivory, right, make a fantastic combo. So somewhere in there you could have a solution. Olive flesh fits in there really nice as well. Bone, depending on how dark and how yellow you want it to kind of appear at the end. So there's a lot of really good coloring in that.
And what size brush are you using right now?
This is our Dauntless number 3.
Number 3.
I am literally just hacking on some initial midtones to our Wish.com non-metallic steel that I'll be working up here.
Wow. Give me the Dauntless brushes. That says from Little Billy. What about gas station sushi points? No, I wouldn't take any gas station sushi points.
Yeah, definitely don't take gas station sushi points.
Let me make myself clear for all of you people out there trying to give away sushi points. I will find you.
I have a particular set of skills.
I have a very particular set of skills. And I will find you and eliminate your fraudulent sushi points. I have that power.
You and your entire family.
Maybe. I don't want to get that crazy. Maybe just you for now. But I'm coming for you. Ghost Hunter, you gave them away, but you didn't have any to start with.
Unapologetic Chris.
Yeah, that's right. Ask not what sushi points can do for you. Ask instead what you can do for sushi points. See, now you're thinking, Papa Chicken. I see what you all have done. You have derailed me. I see what you've done here.
Good job, Chad.
That's right. We're back.
Good job.
Thank you, Dusty Hobbies. We are back. This is a painting stream. This is not a legal tender advice financial conglomerate marketing scheme. This is painting. We are Pro Acryl. We are Monument Hobbies. This is Jason. I am Chris. Welcome in, everybody. It is a beautiful Monday. Is it? Is it a good Monday? I think so. It's 78 degrees out here in Phoenix, Arizona. Mountain Standard Time is 3:41. And Mountain Standard Time is not an oil company. That is, in fact, a time of day in the United States, specifically in Arizona. Spooky, I'm struggling to figure out very pale flesh. And are there any recommendations to point me in the right direction? We have quite a bit of pale flesh. There was another question that we just were talking about, pale flesh. Pale flesh, topic of today's stream. Point us in the right direction for pale flesh, Jason.
So, again, pale can take on lots of forms in that you can have it be pale like almost albino pale, where it's like no pigmentation in the skin, or you can just have pale, I don't go in the sun kind of flesh. You can have pales, like that kind of sickly pale, live in a cave kind of flesh. All of those could be attacked completely differently. So I guess it really just depends on what you're going for as to what my recommendation would be. We've painted them with the underpainting, right? I like greens, faded green. Colors like that look really good. Olive flesh over the top tends to make really, really good kind of cave flesh. That's what we did on the dude here. Right? So this was red gray and olive flesh over the top of magentas and bright yellow greens and dark purples like we underpaint our normal flesh. And so it gives us this kind of, I live in a cave, not quite healthy, not quite undead. We just did the undead horse that showed you how you can use greens.
That's definitely a pale skin for sure.
Right, and the gray-green on top to give it that undead kind of deathly pale flesh, but it's going to read more green when you do that. I'm trying to think what else have we done that is like pale, very pale skin. There's kind of not her. I mean, to some extent, even like Lionel Johnson's face. Can you punch in closer? Mm-hmm. On this, I trend towards pale with olive flesh and tan flesh as a highlight over just regular skin tones, right? Dark flesh, shadow flesh, tan flesh, olive flesh highlight. So you can get kind of a paler looking skin out of that, right? So there's all sorts of things that you can do that lead you to a brighter colored skin. It just depends on if you want it to look human and alive, undead. What are you shooting for?
Yeah. What kind of pale skin?
All of them are very valid. I think that the biggest thing to think of is if you can treat it as if you paint skin like you normally would, like if you're painting Caucasian flesh, paint it like you normally would, and then just go brighter with your highlights. Eventually you get to where, ta-da, pale skin. but you have the same kind of factoring on your base colors that makes it feel alive, which is very good. If you start with a brighter flesh tone and then highlight that up, sometimes you miss the underlying shadow colors that make skin feel like skin. So still starting with, you know, purples, greens, dark flesh, whatever.
Junipers, the painting up some Crisis Protocol. What would be a good brick workup? Worried about burnt sienna is too dark. Or let me look up that. Brickwork. Oh, okay. That brick workup.
Well, I don't think burnt sienna is too dark for that at all. You want to start with a shadow color. Your shadow color needs to be really dark. How much of that you leave showing is up to you. But I would start with something like burnt sienna, move into like burnt red, and then, you know, maybe like a burnt red orange oxide mix kind of feel could work. Something that is a little bit redder, but you get into that. In the amp, we just did burnt umber, and the burnt umber is kind of a good, almost like terracotta feeling color.
That would be awesome for that, for brick
so
workup.
That works really well, but it's going to make it more brownish. So yeah, but I don't believe that there is too dark of a base to start from, because you can just cover it up.
Derpstick says, yeah, the kind of pale flesh I want for my nids is the type you get while also being outside. So what would the workup be for that? Yeah.
Again, I think the dark flesh, shadow flesh, tan flesh, olive flesh works really well if you want it to be kind of humanish, right? Like that pinkish raw skin, which would be kind of uncanny valley for Tyrannids. I think that always looks kind of neat when they have a kind of a Caucasian-y skin tone to the flesh bits. Makes it feel like, you know, they have assimilated whatever they've killed back into their raw material.
Ooh. Little Billy's got a question. Jason, can you list some colors for an ox/bull fur, starting with black brown? Ox and bull fur. Are we talking like brown or more black? I guess I'm trying to think of the first bull fur that comes to my mind is more like a shiny black.
I mean, he wants black brown?
Starting with black brown. Little Billy, maybe tell us what color you're looking for the bull or ox to be. Because I'm thinking like cartoon style, Hanna-Barbera.
Again, that black brown into the umbers works great if you want it to be more brown. Dark umber, light umber works great. We've got a lot of warmer browns, including warm brown.
Yeah, more brown since I have black. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the warm brown over the top of black brown works really well. It's going to give you kind of that reddish, orangish trend. The umbers are very neutral, right? Not quite gray browns, but they're more just kind of neutral, middle of the road browns. So those are cool. Black brown gives you a deep enough start that you can go anywhere you want, You don't be afraid when you go into doing browns. You can start with black brown into dark umber into like orange brown, for the top to give it a little bit of warmth on the fur after you've done the dark base. That can work really well. This is pale yellow mixed with the dark navy blue, by the way. So the same exact color we were using to highlight the yellow helmet, I'm now using to give me a mid-tone blue for our steel here. Pale yellow is a great color to mix into blue black, dark blue, dark navy, to start creating kind of non-metallic steel style coloring. And I'm going to be doing this, just hacking it on here because there's so many shapes that need this color. Not interested in spending 18 million years on this thing. I'm using pretty hefty, heavy-handed brush strokes so that I cover a lot of area all at once. It means that I will have more texture to my brush stroke. I won't have smooth blending, but I can get multiple levels of the model all at once along that leg. And because this is, you know, the functional undercarriage metal and gun stuff, I don't mind if it's a little more beat up in the end than not. That's fine.
Derp6 says, good point. I'm still picturing ivory skin with shading and magenta for the recesses, but I'll try that workup you listed, Jason, whenever I get some Tyrannids. Nice. Very nice.
I mean, the other sounds great too. So, you know, I think a lot of painting, we talk about this a lot of it is just put paint on the model. Start playing with color. You know, I think a lot of us tend to worry too much about getting it right the first time without really realizing what we mean by right.
Yeah.
Right? So you'll be sitting there thinking to yourself, "Oh my gosh, you know I want this pale skin color on my Tyrannids." Just start playing around with it. You know, you're not going to hurt anything. And believe it or not, your entire Tyrannid army could be multiple colors. I've never understood the weird world that GW lives in, where Marines who have given their life to chaos all take the time to dress the same.
That's a good point.
It never makes sense to me.
The schemes.
Yeah, the color schemes are also wacky. I mean, the color schemes are good color-wise, but it's like, it's wacky from a narrative perspective. Like, these are bugs, you know?
Yeah,
they're like big bug kind of things. It's like, I don't know that Tyrannids all have to be the same.
Well, they could be coming from different places or different atmospheres.
Well, like I said, you know, when the Hive Fleet lands, it's from another planet, right? It's the leftover regurgitated mass, the biomass from the last planet they invaded. So whatever they make first is going to look lots different from the biomass they put together to make the stuff late in the war on the planet. So you could have any number of variations of things, right? Because if they go to a planet where all the vegetation and everything they eat to make their new Tyrannids is purple, then they might get purple Tyrannids. The idea that a Hive Fleet has a coloring to it makes no sense to me. Just from a straight up narrative, nerd perspective, you know? So I'm never afraid to be like, yeah, screw that. Each unit could be different, you know? They all got pooped out at different times. And I'm okay with that. I'm in no way trying to influence your army idea if you want to do the pale flesh, but your pale flesh could look different.
Or it could have different shadings or something like that.
What's that?
Or it could have different shadings, like maybe it's all the same flesh, but maybe there's, you know, some just touches of variation to it.
Yeah, you think about like orcs, like painting orcs. In the canon, or in the original canon, I don't know if they've changed this now, right? Is that the bigger and darker the orc was, right? Why there are black orcs in fantasy is because this was true in fantasy too, is that their skin got so dark green it was almost black. And that's how you knew who was the leader.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And same with the 40k orcs. The bigger and darker their skin was, the more they were as a leader. And so within a unit, you could paint any kind of green skin you wanted.
Yeah.
You know, and I always want to believe that's what they did that for, is so that you could have some variation to the way you painted it. I can't promise you that, but it sounds good. So I'm a fan of just doing fun stuff like that. And worrying less about if the chitin armor is all the same color on them, and I think it pulls the army together, because you definitely want to make sure that they don't all look like clown suit, like harlequins, right?
Yeah.
To where every Tyrannid in your army is different. That's not only looks wacky, but is a pain in the butt to paint.
Chuck says the amount of time it would take for me to select color for each individual space bug in a giant army just makes my headache worse.
No, but what it means is that you're not selecting a new color for every one of them. You're just not caring if a color on one is not exactly right. You just paint the next one different, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's the thing that people need to kind of get comfortable with as an art. Like, I'm mixing these two colors of paint together. Every time I'm mixing them, they're a little different.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried if I go and put this brighter blue-gray on here on this part of his butt, if it's a little different than the part I just painted on his leg. Does it bother me? Not at all. Because I know I'm going to put more colors over the top of this, and it's not going to matter because nobody's going to be able to tell. 100%, nobody will be able to tell. The brain doesn't distinguish amidst all of this volume and value that we're putting on the model, does not distinguish those minute little changes. So just start throwing the paint on there. See what you like. You've watched me long enough here working through, people asking me, hey, what color are you going to paint that thing? And I'm like, I have no idea. I literally have no idea what color I want to use on this stuff. We'll just figure it out as we go.
Flapjack says, close enough, in quotes, seems like an immensely powerful phrase when it comes to army painting.
100%. 100%. Now, if you've painted an army in a color scheme and all of them are identical, and then you want to add a squad and they no longer make that paint color, I get the tension that's there. Yeah. Because now you have all your salamanders look exactly the same and it looks perfect to you. You add a squad and GW changes the green, and you use the same color green, but it's different, and now that squad looks like it was painted by somebody else because it doesn't fit. I get that part. Patchwork quilt is not what I'm talking about, right? What I'm talking about is that when you have things like flesh on humans, why would you want every human in your army's skin to be the same color, right? That gets boring. Even if they all come from the same planet, blah-blah-blah, salamanders have that kind of volcanic ash-colored skin by the canon, but you can even vary that. If you're doing a tribal, Central American tribal Aztec theme, they still have different skin colors, right? Tyrannids, I can imagine, all have variations in their skin, and they're chitin and, stripes versus dots and all that. It's just up to you how crazy you want to get. Like Chuck is saying, you probably don't, or not everybody wants to go and completely off the wall.
Right.
And that's fine. Don't.
Hey, you know what, Jason?
What?
Speaking of don't, it's about that time.
No way.
Yeah, it's 3:58.
Are you kidding me?
Heck no.
Just takes his job very serious. He doesn't kid. He's not joking around, chat.
Yeah.
But I don't want to stop. I'm having fun.
I have to stop you.
All
I'm
right.
the killer of fun.
Enemy of fun, Christopher.
That's right. Public enemy number 1, Christopher.
Says that it's time to go, chat. So
you heard him.
We got to finish it
up. And when I mean heard him, I mean we, mean to you, to me, to you. You have all forced my hand of making legal tender now with Sushi Points. So there's lots of legal work that needs to happen behind the scenes. You asked for this, chat.
They didn't ask for it.
Oh, they asked for it. They asked for it. This is my showing up late, but leave late, never that. That's funny, Lumberjack, because that's true. Why does Chris always ruin the fun? Oh, you'll all stand to see that.
I don't really think he does it on purpose.
Never on purpose. Never on purpose.
I want to believe that somewhere deep down underneath that rock hard exterior is a man who really loves us, chat.
I do.
And who worries about our well-being and wants us to have nice things.
But
he just hasn't found the way to make that come out.
I want to keep you wanting more, chat. That is the way. You know? That's the way. We want you coming back. And even though I don't need to do that to keep you coming back, for when those days come when it's a very special stream that makes you want it more. See? We keep you wanting more, but we don't want to overindulge you. You know what I'm saying? Look, I've already given you an extra minute. You're welcome.
Chad, I'm very sorry. Trying my hardest here. I'm using up the last of the paint on the palette because I'm mixing.
Wait, maybe Christopher's holding Jason hostage, forcing him to paint and teaching and having fun? Don't pay any attention to Jason's calls for help. They're fake and not real.
I'm not allowed to talk about those things out loud, chat.
You're not.
Daddy gets mad.
Oh man. Behind this rock hard exterior. Mo says, I keep seeing Jason blink both eyes. Don't look at none of that. He just has something in his eye.
Daddy gets mad.
It's a little dusty in here. Blink twice if you need help, Jason.
I did. I've done it like a million times and nothing ever changes, chat. You guys lie to me. You don't care.
I'll fix it in post. Oh!
Yeah, he edits out the blinking before it hits YouTube.
Yeah, so if you see it live, be sure you're recording it.
This guy.
See, I have to fix things in post.
This guy. Okay, well, we got the yellow done, and we got some highlights starting on our blue so that we can push it tomorrow into non-metallic steel range, gunmetal range.
Non-metallic steel?
Well, like gunmetal. Dark. It'll be very dark. It won't be steel.
Yeah.
It'll be like, I don't know, blue, blackish, painted gunmetal, whatever. So there we go. So, Bud says, all hail Christopher.
That's right.
Wait, what, Bud? I thought we was friends.
I thought we was friends. Wow.
He just said many points to you, Bud.
That's right. You get many points. See? He giveth and taketh away. No! Oh, the humanity.
Chris, you're fired.
Oh.
Chris, you're fired. Question on the glazed wash medium. I picked it up to bottle my own custom washes, but my first batch did not work the way I was used to. I typically pin wash, and I picked up your dark wash from a store, and it flowed how I would expect. Do I need to add more water? More water. Yeah. More water to get the flow the way you want it when you're mixing your own washes. Yeah, that's what the water is for, is to lower the viscosity so it runs quicker. The glaze and wash medium has everything it needs to move along the surface, but it's still thick so that you can glaze with it too, right? That's why it's called glaze and wash. The glaze is first. The medium with the paint makes it glaze easy. Excuse me. The water then turns it more into a wash for pin washing, overall filtering, things like that. You got it. AD Creation says, I just got here. More painty. I can't. The man will not let us. The enemy of fun says, close up shop, Jason, or it gets the hose.
That's right.
And I don't want the hose today, guys.
You don't want the hose?
Everybody, I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Thank you for coming and checking us out again on a Monday. If you're new around here, hit that follow button. Seriously, do it. You'll get nothing but more amazing, great content hanging out with us. Hanging out with me. Chris, it's questionable as if he adds anything, but we're going to go with it and say he's worth having around for now.
Something. We don't know what it is. He's blinking again.
But thanks for hanging out with us. Hope you have a wonderful evening. Make sure to check out the links Chris put in chat there, monumenthobbies.com. For the next time you're looking for some hobby supplies, give us a shot. If you're not already using ProAcryl, you should. There you go. And thank you for all the support. It allows us to do this amazing show. 9 years. 9 years. Crazy 9 years. So thanks so much for hanging out with us, enjoying some paint on model. We'll be doing more of this Tau Ghost Kill suit throughout the week. I don't know when we'll finish. We might finish this week and move on to something else. I've got some free blades, and I've got a really cool bust that I want to paint. So I might go to a bust, although we've got a lot of people that are saying, I want to see you paint more real size models.
Real sized.
They think we're fooling them by painting big models.
We can paint small.
Yeah, so we'll see.
We don't need to.
Maybe we'll paint more small models. I mean, we just got done doing that, but maybe we'll do small. But T-pose for dominance. So thanks for hanging out. Make sure to check out all the links. The YouTube channel has all of these videos as VODs. So once we close up here, it'll go to the live tab so you can catch up on things you might have missed if you tuned in late. Or if you just want to catch back on a historic show that had a good tutorial that you want to see again, make sure to check them there. There's a ton of content over there, as well as all the stuff that Chris pulls out as shorts and briefer tutorials all over on the YouTube. And we'd love to see you back here. So follow us here, subscribe to us on YouTube, click the bell and all that fancy stuff to know when we go live. We do this from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, Mountain Standard Time here in Phoenix, Arizona. Stick around because Chris is going to find somebody to raid. And hope you enjoy your hobby content as you go off into the evening. We'll catch you back here tomorrow. Adios, gang.